Hello and welcome to what is going to be the patch notes 1.8 for European Universalis 4. I've spent some time going through them. I'm not doing them all. They are huge. It's one of the biggest patches they've done in any of their games. And just to brief, I've added some bits in myself for the first section I'm going to do, because look, 8,000 words. It's 19 pages long. It is huge. It's absolutely huge. I'm going to break it down into at least 3 chunks, maybe more. But first of all, I'm going to cover the main paid features, the main free features, and then the tweaks we can gain balance of war and peace. And we're going to go from there. See how long it takes. But what I've done is I've gone through. To be honest, it took me 45-50 minutes now just to go through that one section. And what I'm doing is I'm putting some little tips against it, notes against it, just so that it's a bit more personal. It's not just reading out what it says, because you guys can do that. I'm going to try and give my opinions as to what I think about it, and hopefully that'll help. So 1.8 patch notes, the paid features. If you buy Art of War, this is what you're going to get, and this is the overall part. They will break it down into more detail later on as well, I think. Little tweaks here and there. But these are the main big bits. So, it's now possible to declare a support rebels war against a country you're supporting rebels in. As it says. If you are supporting rebels in another country, say I'm England, I'm doing it in France, I can then say, right, France, I'm going to go to war with you because I'm for your rebels. Now, I don't think you can gain anything from it apart from supporting the rebels. So if they win and you win for them, they get what they want. They get the demands, they get to either change the religion, they get to become a new state, whatever. It's now possible to set an allied in war to prioritise sieging a province, or it's sieging a province. You do this by actually choosing in the province itself. When you're at war, you can say, I want my ally to move his forces kind of this away. If they could, try and prioritise this area of land to siege, please. If you are, again, you're against France, you want to be taking Ile-de-France, you say just try and rush there. Rush your forces there. We'll all rush to that place. We'll take Ile-de-France and we'll get our tick in war score, as opposed to them doing what they normally do. It's now possible to set the military focus for your targets to be subjects to be aggressive, supportive, or none. This basically changes the tactics they use during the war. So if they are aggressive, they go off on their own. They will go and fight their own battles. They will go and search out places to take over. They will basically be their own nation. If you do them as supportive, they will do as best they can. They will stick by you. They will try and group with you. They will try and move as you move. They will look for your targets. They will follow you around. They will be your puppy, your slave, your vassal. None, they'll do what they normally do. They might move, they might not. They might sit there looking at you whilst you take on 50,000 troops, and if they jumped in and helped, it'll be fine. As we saw against with Hansa, and they didn't. And so we're going to go and crush them in our later videos. You can have multiple fleets. Yes! Yes! This is amazing. Right. Basically, what this means is that you have your ships, you have your transports, you have your light ships, you have your heavy ships, you have your galleys. Lovely. And then you're at war and you're doing everything you can, you're destroying people. Yes, it's wonderful. And then the war finishes and your 50 heavy ships you bought for that war are now sitting there. You don't want to sell them because you don't want to buy them again. Also, you couldn't even sell them, could you, really? You just got rid of them. You don't want to get rid of them because you might want to use them again. So you sit them there and they're costing you hundreds of gold every year because they're very, very, very expensive. What you can now do, you can now mothball them. You can select a fleet, you can say mothball this fleet, and what it means is that it reduces their maintenance down. I'm not sure exactly how much to, but I think it's a lot. It could even be 0, I'm not sure. But what happens by that is that they have to sit in port and they slowly lose their, like morale, they lose their hull, I guess, 5% per month to a lower minimum of 25%. And what this means is that if you suddenly go to war again, you then have to put them back up to max just to make them regenerate to 100% before you even want to use them again. So it's got that negativity as well, but it is a massive, massive cost of life. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong phrase to use. It's a massive improvement for you, basically, to make sure you're not spending money on stuff you don't actually need. It's the same with military maintenance. You military, you either use it or you don't. With your fleets, you use part of it all the time, your trade ships, but the other part you don't use all the time. So it's basically doing your military area of your navy, reduce it down. You can now designate your vassal into a march. So marches, they will no longer pay tax to you and you cannot annex them, but they will get bonuses in warfare. And I found out what this actually means. They will get a 25% bonus to manpower, they get a 30% force limit increase, a 20% fort defense bonus, and if you wish to basically stop them from being a march, which you can do at any time, you can say be a march, don't be a march, be a march, don't be a march, do it 20 times if you want. However, you get -1 stability and a massive opinion hit if you do try and remove them from being a march, because you're basically you're specialising them. They're going to have to give you as much money, so they have more money themselves. They are becoming a big warfare kind of front for you. They're basically being your bitch. They are being your shield. If you had, for instance, as Castile, you could probably have Navarra maybe as a march. You'd probably want to extend them a little bit east, but you get the idea. And what it means is that if France want to come through that area, it's going to be tough for them. You've got a small nation between you and them who is going to have bonuses to military. They're not going to give you much money, but you don't care because you're basically colonising to get your money. You're getting your gold nations. These guys, they're going to sit there, they're going to stop the enemy coming through, give you some time to react as well, which is good. That's basically the point. You want them between. They have to be basically a buffer zone. I think the main one they always talk about is Moldavia as Poland. They basically were a buffer state for Poland, then they're a buffer state for Ottomans, then they're a buffer state for Poland. I think they were a buffer state maybe for Hungary as well. They are basically Eastern Europe's bitch. I'm sorry to say it, but they were. Not anymore, obviously, but they were. It's now possible to use your subjects' casus belli war goals when declaring war. So a bit like Crusader Kings 2. You can now, if someone other than your, not your main character, so not your actual nation, if your vassal, these are your vassals, so you basically own them, and they have a casus belli now to go to war with another small nation. You can say, right, I'm going to use that now. I'm going to actually go to war because of my vassal wants it to. And I think again, it's only your vassals that can actually. You can only basically do what your vassal wants when it comes to war goals. You cannot say. Trick it as if you again, say you're Castile, you have Navarra wants to attack Aragon. You can't then say, right, we're attacking Aragon, now I want to take all of Aragon's land. I think you can only do it for what the vassal wants, sort of thing, You can't take advantage of it too much, although maybe you can. If you can, then that's going to be exploited and have to be changed. But yeah, units with names edited by players, which I thought was a bit silly, because basically the first thing they should mention is you can now rename. If you have military units, actually, maybe you could rename. Maybe that's when we'll just take that out. We'll take that out. You can rename your ships. I just remember you can rename your ships anyway, because I'm just calling it. You call it like the first fleet, second fleet. You can call it, as I used to call it, the transport fleet or Caribbean trade. Because I knew when I had 15 ships moving around, I knew they were the Caribbean trade ships. Ignore them. But then when you started merging, they would then become the 7th Fleet again, or the Constantinople, what do you call it? Now, your 7th Caribbean Fleet or your Caribbean trade fleet. You put in 20 other ships with it because you want to increase it. It stays as the Caribbean trade fleet. Brilliant. Quality of life. That's the phrase I was looking for before, and that's what I mean here as well. Quality of life. Added client state mechanics. Right, client state mechanics. It says here where you can now create new custom vassals, decide the name, flag and colour, and assign territory to them as soon as you reach a certain tech level. The tech level is diplomatic level 22, and they are effectively extremely loyal vassals. And what happens is, again, it's Castile. You can create, let's say, mini Castile. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as mini Castile, but you can create it as mini Castile. And you open it up. You basically click on create new country, or create client state, sorry, and you say I want these bottom 4 ex-Granadan provinces, or you could do that even. You can create the ones just north of Granada and create them as a new one called mini Castile. You then click on that and then make that your march. Bam! You've now created a long line, and you said, "Bam! This is my fort defense area." You can choose the flag. You can choose the color. You can choose the color of the nation on the map. You can decide their name, and you can create. One of the funny ones is that one of the new nations in Africa is called Air, and what they did on the stream is they created Earth, Water, Fire, and Heart to go alongside them, which is very fitting. But they do take up a vassal slot, so do be careful. That march idea I just said might sound good at first, but if you want more vassals, it's pretty shit. You can now sell ships to other nations. You choose the price, and if another nation wants ships and you have tons, you can sell them. Simple as that. I mean, why was that not around? There's another part about it which probably explain why you wouldn't want to do it as much. But yeah, if you have 50 ships and you suddenly do not want to be doing naval battles, because you're going to focus on colonising, or you're going to focus on going through Europe instead, and another nation is probably maybe trying to start some wars against England, so you can sell them ships. If they want them, you can sell them. Same as selling a province, really. It's now possible to transfer control of a province to someone you are allied with in a war. You've got to pay for this one to happen. That's a bit shit. It's very, very good though. It's amazing. What it means is that if you are again Castile and you're going to war with France and they have and Navarra has a claim on part of France and you don't have it, you can take it over, and then you can say this is now Navarra's land that they are actually sieging. So that then when you go to do your peace deal, you can say, well, Navarra has this land. Because so many times if it works the other way as well, in that if you are Navarra, you're playing as Navarra and you'll have Castile as your ally, you go to fight, Castile just stomps everything, sieges it all out, bam, and you're thinking, yeah, but I actually wanted that land that you just taken and now I can't get it. Now you can. The AO will do the same. The AO will do it back to you. They will choose land that they think you want. If you've got cause or you've got claims on it, they will decide, you know what, I don't want this land, they do, so we will actually transfer it to them. I think it says only the war leader is the people you can trade it to. It says it in both ways, but I think it's the war leader that the AI will transfer it to. So we'll see. I mean, that's what it says, but it also says not that, so we'll see. Added a peace option of give up claims that forces the enemies to give up all of their claims on you. It's nice. Again, you have to pay for that to happen. Added peace option war reparations. It forces the enemy to pay a fraction of their income to you for each month for 10 years. It's 10% of their monthly income. So it's quite a lot of money you can get, especially if you've got a large nation. If you beat them, that could be good to boost your money afterwards. Just take loads of money, because next time you go to war with them, you're going to want that money. And also it hurts them a lot. That's really good. Add the possibility to upgrade fleets in one click if you can afford it. So let's just ignore that part. Just who cares about that bit for now. Added the possibility to upgrade fleets. So now when you reach that next diplomatic tech level and you've got a new fleet, a new war galley, a new heavy ship, a new light ship, a new transport ship, instead of having your 50 you've just created becoming not as good, and having to just basically build new ones until you get to the point of actually wanting to just get rid of these old ones because they're crappy, you can now do what you do with your military, in that if you can afford it, it costs a lot of money this time. It's basically the upgrade cost. Well, I think actually what it is the cost of if you bought them all fresh. That doesn't make sense, does it? That's what I thought I read. Huh. Because if it costs you, say, 50 gold to build a new one, why would you spend 50 gold on upgrading this one? Because surely having the new one's better for them, because you can either decide to want to keep the other ones or not. Whereas this way you're forcing yourself to not. We'll see how that goes when it actually gets released. But basically you can do that in one click if you can afford it. They have to be in a port and they will go down to 0% and they'll start regenerating in the same way it happens with military. Yeah, because you've got to pay for them. I've looked through. I can't find any more information about it apart from that. Garrisons can now sortie from their fortresses against a besieging force. So you're attacking them. They have 1,000 troops. They've got 2,000 troops in there, and they do nothing most of the time because who assaults? No one. So they do nothing. They're pointless. Now, if you buy the expansion, you can now click a button which costs you military points. It could the picture I've seen says 10 military points. It could be 10 across the board. It could be 10, or it could be 5 per 1,000 troops that are there because it's for 2,000 troops. Who knows? But they will then create themselves an army of that garrison, and they will then come out and they will attack whoever's besieging them. Seems pretty useless, you'd think, because you've got 2,000 troops there. You normally put 5,000 troops on top of it. Fair enough, it won't work. But you can put your minimum out. So you've got 2,000 defending, you put 2,000 in, it's enough. Also, there was a tactic which won't be used anymore, which was because if you have someone on top of the province, they can't build there anymore. So what you do is you put your 15 stack with all your artillery on one province because you want to besiege it. You then put 1,000 units absolutely everywhere else to stop them regenerating any troops, but also reduce their income, I believe, as well. But now you won't do that because they can actually sortie out and they will crush your 1,000 troop armies across everywhere, and then you can kind of group all those troops up and have a massive army. So it could also be that. I think you can only do it whilst you're being besieged, else you've got a massive army sitting around, which is quite fun. But that's a good thing as well. Add the option to abandon your foreign cause for one-time prestige cost. So if you're Castile and you've got a core in France hates you a bit because of it, as you are well aware, you can now click a button, cost you 10 prestige, and you say, you know what, we don't want that land anymore, so stop hating us. That's kind of what you're paying. You're paying 10 prestige to stop people hating you as much. Added abandon idea group functionality where you can change your country's setup for the future. This is, on the one hand, amazing. On the other hand, I think it's really, really, really shitty. if you get your idea groups, you go through with it 100, 200, 300 years later, you're sitting there thinking, I don't really want colonising anymore because there's nowhere else to colonise, so let's get rid of it, or whatever. You can click a button now to get rid of your idea group, and you get a refund of, that's not a mistake there, 10%. So if you put 400 in to get the base, you get 40 back. And the numbers they keep suggesting is you get 40 back, you get 40 back. So it seems like it's 10% initial cost. But you put 400 in, you get 400 every single time you put a new idea in. So what I'm wondering is, do you get 10% of that as well? I'm pretty sure you do. So if you put 400 for the idea group, you then put 400 in another four times. You will then get 414. Wow, I'm really good at maths. You get 200 back. So, nah. I think it's 200, not just 40 for the base idea group. We'll see. But it's better. It's good anyway. It's good in that sense, you know, because they're kind of outdated. Before you were just stuck with them, and that was that. Now you get to clear up the slot and get to spend on somewhere else, but you have effectively wasted a lot of points. I think 20% would have been a good number. It's not much more. I just think it makes it a bit more. 25% becomes a bit too much, but below 20, I think it's just not worth it in a way. Yeah, we'll see. It's worth it anyway. Anything at all is good, but I think 20% would probably be a bit more balanced. It doesn't make people just change them willy-nilly, but it makes it a bit like you haven't wasted quite as much. You can now toggle your fleets that your allies and subject load armies on them. I've written uh-oh because what this means, you can choose your transport fleet, and it means that if your allies are landlocked, they've got no fleets. So again, you're Castile and you've got an ally of, say, Bohemia. They have no navy, but you're fighting a war against England. Bohemia is sitting there pointless, they can't do anything. Whereas if you've got your fleet in between the English Channel, Bohemia can come along, you can tick your button, Bohemia will get on the ships, they'll get into England and they will help you out. Fantastic. But it has been brought up today, what happens if, there's two things here. A, Bohemia get on the ships, and because they're on the ships, they then have control over your transport ships, and they go off to some random place, sit there, don't think about attrition, and then they basically lose all your ships. Or B, they go off somewhere and they go and sit there, perfectly safe, perfectly happy, but they just sit there, and you're like, yeah, can I have my ships back, please? Can I have my ships back? I'm trying to cross the channel. You're sitting there, like Hansa, you know, sitting there, not helping you, but actually hindering you by doing so. And there's a third option. What if they go off and you still control them, and you have Bohemia as your ally, and you don't really like Bohemia, and you're thinking, okay, let's just send all these 50 transport ships, it's not worth much, with their 50,000 troops on, and sit them in the middle of the ocean, and you destroy your own ships, but also destroy all of their army. No answer has been given to those things yet, so that is a potential big issue with this. Basically, they could screw you over, or you could screw them over. Whereas if you took that away, it's a really, really, really good move. I absolutely love that, apart from the potential to screw yourself or them over. More paid features. The Holy Roman Empire. You probably see why I've split this into multiple videos now, because I am talking. These are the big features though, so there's going to be a lot more talking. The other stuff as you go down, a lot less talking. It's basically simple facts of, let me just quickly say, remove stability hit when joining aggressive vassal war after peace deal. Not much you can really say about that. HRE. They now have mechanics for internal religious wars, including leagues for Catholics and Protestants that fight over the faith of an empire. So, the main thing of the art of war is the 30-Year War. That's what this has kind of been about. The 30-Year War was when the Protestants became larger, and the Catholics said, hey, no. And the Protestants said, hey, no, back to you. And then they had fights, big fisticuffs. So, to trigger it, if an elector is a Protestant, the Evangelic Union procs. When that procs, you then have, imagine you've got the HRE here, imagine this is just a screen you're looking at, HRE, Catholics will be on this side, and on this side is the Protestant elector, and then other Evangelic Union members who joined in will be here as well. These two can now go toward each other whenever they want, and that is they are the sides that will join in. All these will join in, all these will join in. I don't think you even get a choice. It's basically the war starts, you are joining in. So you choose wisely. If you're quite Catholic, you have to be on this side. If you're Protestant, you have to be on this side. If you're Reformed, if you are Catholic, part of the HRE, you have to be on this side. Protestant HRE, you have to be on this side. If if you're Reformed, or if you're anything else, if you're Reformed, if you are Muslim, if you are Catholic and not part of the HRE, or Protestant not part of the HRE, you choose which side you want to be on. So France can, as Catholic, can join the Protestant side, and you choose whichever one you want. What happens then is to win, you need a 50% war score, and you choose the option to win in that sense. And if the Emperor wins, everyone has to become Catholic or Protestant, because it could be the Emperor was Protestant when this war started. If the others win, the Emperor has to be Protestant. So it's not that they become it. So if Austria are Catholic at the time, they basically, I think it means they just cannot be the Emperor. Now I think they also get the option to change to Protestant if they want to, but by the way it's worded, it sounds like Austria stops being the Emperor and one of these guys becomes the Emperor. So I think it switches to this side, and it has to be a Protestant Emperor. Whichever side wins, you get a bonus to your army tradition. Oh no, sorry, whilst you're at war. So whilst these wars are going on, all sides get a bonus to army tradition and cheaper military technology costs. And so the reason for that is because of, which is the case in pretty much any major war, the improvements in military is outstanding. You look at World War One, World War Two, any like Vietnam War, the leap and bounds of technology that go on during those times is incredible. That's what this is about. The winners, that's not just the actual winner, but the winners, all of them, will get plus legitimacy, missionary strength, tolerance of own faith, and Protestants get a bonus to all of those as well because it's more difficult for them. The Emperor, if they win, gets a plus chance at gaining imperial authority. So if they go to war and they win, the Emperor then consolidates the HRE much more easily, effectively. There was something else. Yeah, it can go back and forth, but I think if the same side wins it twice, it's over, effectively. I think that's the way it is. Implemented a new unit builder, where you can create entire new armies or fleets in one. So that's not part of. That's only if you pay for it. You can't be part of that if you don't pay, but that doesn't seem right. That should be a free feature as far as I can see. Implement a unit builder, where you can create entire new armies or fleets in one click. So you go through the macro builder on the left hand side. You create it. You say, oh, right, I want 6 infantry, 2 cavalry, and 4 cannons in this macro builder. You then choose where you want it to be built. So you say you want to build it in Ile-de-France, you click Ile-de-France. Now what's not clear is whether, if you click Ile-de-France, does it build one unit after one unit after one unit, or it does. No, it does. Think about it, it does. Yeah, it does one unit after one unit after one unit, and it keeps building it until it's built. Or you can choose, so ignore this rest bit. You choose, say, Ile-de-France, and then the 4 surrounding areas. It will then build 5 units at once, and another 5 units, and another 5 units, until it meets the macro that you've decided to go for. And everything will then merge and join onto that one place, which is quite good. It means that you can basically have a selection of, say, you want a standard 30 stack, and then you build it in one place because you don't want it right just yet. So it'll take some time, but it'll build it all. Or you can choose it to be built in 5 different areas, and you know over time it will build your army. You can go over somewhere else, look at another part of the map. You don't have to keep clicking everywhere. And also it means if you've done tons and tons of manpower at that moment, it will just keep on building up and up and up over time. It's great. It's wonderful. Over 25 flavour events have been added for playing in West Africa. I don't know why it's highlighted that. I haven't found anything out about that at all. And over 50 events relating to 30 Years' War. Marvellous. That's all the paid features. So if you buy Art of War, you get those 2 pages of features. If you don't buy it, you get the other 26 pages, which will be a lot more, by the way. It'll be a lot more once I've finished putting all the carriage returns in. But yeah, so that's what you're paying your €20 for, effectively. Do you think that's worth €20? That's your choice. I'm going to get it because I love Paradox no matter what, pretty much. But a lot of these features are pretty damn good. I think that's actually a free feature, to be fair. Because if you don't pay for it, maybe it means as the HRE. If you play as the HRE, you can't do it. But we'll see. The leagues have to be. The leagues are there. The leagues are definitely there in the free features. So, nah. Free stuff. Here we go. I'm going to do some of the free stuff and then I'll stop. Let's just see how far through this one we are. Just give me 1 second. 1 second. Okay, already 25 minutes through. Brilliant. I'll try and rush through a bit more. New features. The big one. In bold, because it's so freaking amazing, the map now has 45% more detail. They've added 900 new provinces. Okay. 900 new provinces. That's amazing. That is astonishing. The detail they've gone into it's fantastic. And what I'll do is one of the videos probably want to go to. It probably should say more detail somewhere else. If it doesn't, I'll attach it to some other video I'll do next. But I will put the screenshots of the extra provinces. Basically, take Europe away, get rid of Europe, and everywhere else effectively, and includes Eastern Europe. That does. There's some in Eastern Europe, but pretty much Europe. Take it out. Everywhere else has new provinces. The Alaskan parts of Russia? No, the what's the snowy parts of Russia called? The Northwest Russia, China, not Japan, Australia, India, a lot of Africa, North America, Central America, South America. Anywhere else I haven't mentioned. The Middle East. I don't think that actual Middle East, but the Middle East I'm talking about is not Israel, but more like Persia, Saudi, modern day Persia, and Georgia in game. That kind of area has all been increased. They've also increased some area around Crimea as well. It's amazing. And southern Russia has been increased as well. 900 new provinces. That is fantastic. They've done severe optimizations on the game to have it running basically the same as 1.7 with all new provinces and countries added. So basically they've almost doubled the amount of provinces, but the game runs exactly the same, which is fantastic. The main reason for that is to do with trade, which we'll come to later. There's 3 new trade goods: silk, dyes, and tropical wood. Fantastic, because I keep calling cloth silk, so hopefully they all look different. Because of all the extra tags they've got, all the extra provinces, these fit a bit better now. And another big reason for this is that in a lot of the extra places have also been put in the colonization areas, colonial areas, and what it means is that it's not as easy to take over an area. Like if you went in, you could almost block the sea and stop other people coming in. Now, the 13 colonies, for instance, is going to be 13 colonies, but you're going to have France in the 13 colonies area, you're going to have Netherlands in the 13 colonies area, you're going to have Scotland as well, and people are going to be able to pull a lot more areas, because you can only do 3-4 colonies at once, 2 or 3 colonies at once, and yet there's hundreds more provinces. So yeah. Added support for compressed games, save games. Apparently this is already a feature in multiplayer. It's now a feature in single player. Compresses them down. You can unzip them if you want to have a look at stuff, but it means they're a lot smaller. They're not 50, 60, 100 megabytes. They're a lot smaller now. Rebels no longer. Let me have a bit of a drink actually. Rebels no longer revolt in individual provinces instead. Oh god, I need to put some better grammar in there. I'll basically copy paste this from the website. Rebels no longer revolt in individual provinces. Instead of revolt risk, so revolt risk is gone, they now have unrest. Each province belongs to a particular rebel faction. When provinces have unrest, that rebel faction will gain progress towards a revolt based on the amount of unrest, and will revolt in more than one consolidated armies upon progress hitting 100%. So what this means is that you will not have individual provinces revolting now. You have a selection of provinces, so you may have say Brittany in France, you may have Normandy in France, or Normandy and Brittany will probably be together as a section. They have their own revolt risk, unrest. And as it increases, it gives them a bigger and bigger chance of them revolting. As they get 100%, they'll definitely revolt. Higher unrest determines your military creation speed, so your infantry and your navy, but not affecting your tax anymore. Your income. Harsh treatment is against a rebel faction, not against a province, and it costs the same, it does the same sort of thing. And because it's over areas, building courthouses is much better now. No, I never built courthouses ever, but now it makes more sense to do so. Accepting rebel demands is the same as enforcing demands, pretty much the same thing, which makes sense. I didn't quite see the point of having both. Provinces now have local autonomy. It's another big change as well. Local autonomy reduces the income, manpower, force limits, and trade power provided by a province, and also lowers the cost of taking that province in a peace deal. Local autonomy is gained on conquest. Local autonomy can now be reduced or increased every 30 years, resulting in increased or lowered revolt risk. So, if you spend, every year you can spend, I think it's happening in power, I can't remember now, to reduce or increase autonomy. If you increase autonomy, you lower unrest, which is good up here, but increases autonomy means that they are happier, but you have less income, less manpower, less force limits, lower trade power. And also make it makes it cheaper to take it in a peace deal. So you're kind of saying, do you want people to be happy, or do you want to get loads of money and make it difficult to be taken over? Whilst you're at peace, the local autonomy lowers by 1 per year, And this kind of means they love war, because whilst you're at peace, they become less and less happy, but you gain money. Strange. And when you're conquered, if you conquer a province, it says it adds 50%. We're not sure if that means it goes to 50%, or if it adds 50%. Because if they're already at 40 or 50%, it goes up to 100. It seems very strange. But also, if you have a claim on the province, it increases it by 40%. But again, higher autonomy means that yes, you get lower money, which will make sense, but it makes them happier. So when as Castile, if I take over some parts of France, they then become happier. Apparently, that doesn't make sense, but we'll go with it. What else was overseas provinces now have minimum autonomy of 75% instead of distance overseas, so it has the same sort of all the multipliers within it. All colonised provinces now have a minimum autonomy of 50%, unless the owner is a colonial nation or a former colonial nation. This one's complicated. There's a lot of sort of pages of talk about this one. What it basically means is that all colonised provinces now have minimum autonomy. They can't go below 50%. If you're Russia and you're colonising, it can't go below 50%. Unless you are, as England, the 13 colonies. You're a colonial nation. If you, as 13 colonies, colonise another bit of land, it can go below 0%. Yeah, that's complex. It's complicated because I haven't actually got any proper answers yet. When there's proper answers to it, I'll probably add a little addendum. Yeah, to it. The Protestant and Reformed religions now have centres of reformation in certain provinces that convert nearby Catholic provinces to their religion. Centres of reformation are awarded to the country where the religion is founded, and the first 2 countries to convert to that faith. I've written first 3 for that. And replace the old province events that spread these centres. These religion centres of reformation are removed if the province is converted to another faith. So it means that if you are, as we were Holland, and we became reformed, we then become a reformed centre of faith, and we then start to spread provinces around us to become reformed, and we can spread one at a time, and I believe we get events because of it, and we are loved, and etc, etc. We can't be converted from reformed unless we are conquered, etc. And it's 3 at once. The College of Cardinal system has been replaced with a system where cardinals are based in provinces and new ones are created once per year in rich Catholic European provinces. Each cardinal gives some papal influence, which can either be spent on special papal actions that grant bonuses and resources to your country, or invested towards becoming the papal controller when a new pape is elected. So, there's 49 cardinals in total. 1 per year is created, as it says, if there isn't enough. They are province-based now, so instead of having it as a country, you have in different provinces. You have one in Ile-de-France, you could have one in, name another province, Breda, one in London. Let's say you owned all these places. And based on how many there are, it depends how much papal influence you generate. It's generated by the number of cardinals in your own territory, relation to the papacy, as well as events and decisions. You can have a maximum of 100 papal influence stored, and you can invest your papal influence to increase the chance of becoming a pope, and this is shared. So if I invest 100 and another person invests 50, then I have 66% chance of becoming the next pope, or one of my cardinals does, sorry, and then the other person has 33% chance. Someone else invests another 10, it lowers it down to what, 60, 40, 20, 60, 40, 10, or whatever, or 35, 55, and 10. Here we go, this is how you spend it. So papal influence spent on other areas. You can spend 100 to gain X amount of ducats. I'm not sure how much it was, because we only saw one picture, it said 30 ducats, but what does that really mean? You can spend 60 to gain 10 legitimacy, 40 to gain 10 prestige, 100 to gain 1 stability, 25 to get minus 1% interest per year for 25 years, 40 to gain manpower, again X amount, 30 to get 1 of 4 advisors. You see the 4, you get to choose one of them, or you get a chance you get 25% chance, you don't get to choose, but you see the 4 available. Or you spend 100 to gain 1 mercantilism. That is expensive, but that is amazing. That's probably where I'll go for quite a long time. Lovely. Supply and demand pricing system has been replaced with a system where each resource has a base price that can be modified by various major events, such as the triangle trade driving up the price of slaves and the Grand Banks fisheries lowering the price of fish. So the complicated, blah blah trade system has gone. Everywhere still has a single bit of corn or spice or cloth, silk, or whatever. but prices are now kind of set, and that is that. It's not based on supply and demand. But there's lots of events now in the system which will affect your prices, and the one they said there about the tribal trade means that when people start colonizing, the price of slaves goes up by a huge amount for a set period of time, because that's what happened. The trade nodes set, I guess basically things become a bit more historically correct. The trade nodes setup has been severely overhauled with lots of new trade nodes. It doesn't go into detail, but I found that Western Europe has been removed again. English Channel has been added, Antwerp has been removed, but then people have basically everything's been rearranged. There's lots more changes, but the main differences are the way things connect. There are others added and removed, but they don't go into specifics just yet. We'll have pictures and images of that later on. Leader assignment has been improved. Leaders that are already assigned will show up in a list of available leaders in other units. Those leaders can be assigned to those units, which cause them to be removed from their old units. So if I have a leader in Army A, he's sitting there, I go to Army B and say, oh, I want to choose a leader, but no, I can't because there's no leaders available, so I go back to Army A. I have to find Army A first of all. Click on it, click no leader, go back to Army B, say Army B, I want you to have a leader now, bam, it's done. Now you go to Army B, you say I want a leader, you say I choose A is one, and it goes from A, goes into B, boom. So kind of like Crusader Kings 2 there. And it's kind of a bit of a dodgy system. I don't like it. I don't like the leader system at all. You've got someone in India who then say, right, I want to actually be in Europe. Boom, he magically transports. They can't really get around that. Fair enough. But they could make him transport around. Make him be a unit himself. Yeah. Why can't they do that? Anyway, it's changed. That's a good quality of life. I was going to go into game balance, but I think I spent too long on this one. So I'll end this episode here. And we'll do some more afterwards, and it's going to be less talking about the other ones because there's less to talk about, to be fair, and hopefully it won't be as long, but I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.